Thank you for requesting a quote for spring cleanup. I just wanted to make this quick video to explain a little bit on how we do our estimates and what is involved in a spring cleanup here at Green's Lawn Care. So when you get the estimate, you will see two different line items. You will have a cleanup for just your landscape beds as option one, and then you will have option two, which will be cleanup for the entire property. Okay, so we do four specific things in our spring cleanup. The first thing that we do when we arrive is we clean up all the perennials. So if there is leftover foliage from the winter time, like hostas, you'll have all the foliage kind of matted to the ground. Sometimes coneflowers, black-eyed Susans, etc. You still have the long stalks, and those need to be clipped back so then the new growth can emerge. So the first thing that we do is take care of the perennials. That's number one. Number two is we prune any shrubs, tall grasses, rose bushes if we're not too late in the season, if they're necessary. So in the spring you can trim shrubs like boxwoods, yews. You can trim shrubs like that, but you don't want to trim anything that flowers, like a forsythia, a lilac, or a viburnum. Those type of shrubs you don't want to prune in the spring, or else they won't bloom for you. You want to prune those after they have done flowering, so kind of early summer-ish time. So the first thing we do is take care of your perennials. The second thing we do is we prune any shrubs that need to be trimmed, and then we cut back all tall grasses that need to be cut back. The third thing we do is we pick up all the sticks on your property's limbs, and then the fourth thing we do is we take care of the leaves on your property. Now, in taking care of the leaves, that does not include pine needles. We do not remove pine needles from a property because a lot of times you'll always have pine needles that fall right under that tree, that pine tree, and it's going to be an ongoing issue for you. Pine needles are very hard and tough to remove because they get very, very heavy. Our machines can't vacuum them up, so it's all manual labor, and it does get quite expensive. So we've just said we don't do pine needles unless it is specifically requested that we take care of that for you. So the only difference between option one, which is a cleanup for your landscape beds only, and option two, which is a cleanup for your entire property, is we're always going to take care of the perennials. We'll always trim the shrubs and the tall grasses, but if you ask us to only take care of the landscape beds, we will only pick up sticks in the landscape beds, and we will only clean out leaves that are in the landscape beds. If you want us to take care of the whole property, we will pick up sticks on the whole property, and we will clean up leaves on the whole property. So that's the only difference between only the landscape beds to prep for mulch and the entire property for that spring cleanup. Now, our most popular option is the spring cleanup for the landscape beds only in preparation for the mulch. A lot of times there are some leftover leaves in the yard, but that is just okay because when you start mowing, those leaves, unless you have a lot of leaves, the leaves that are left on the ground are really good to be mulched up with a lawnmower and turned back into the soil and amend the soil, and it essentially acts as another application of fertilizer. So hopefully that clears up the difference between the option one, spring cleanup of the landscape beds only, in that we only focus on the landscape beds and nothing in the yard. And then the cleanup for the entire property, we take care of all the landscape beds plus all the grassy areas. So hopefully that clears everything up. You will see below here the estimate, and it will explain it a little bit more in writing. And we hope to see you guys on your property.